For sure you've heard Bruce Lee's quote, "Be water, my friend." But what did he really mean? How can you become water? And is it like being like a chameleon, becoming fake and adapting to each situation? Let's look into the quote piece by piece and understand it, and also learn how we can become more like water. Let's go. So actually the full quote that he said is, empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. If you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow and water can crash. Be water, my friend. This is not my personal analysis. This comes really from the philosophy of Bruce Lee. Two great books helped us today to understand Bruce Lee's philosophy. One is Be Like Water, My Friend. The other one is The Warrior Within. So the first part, empty your mind. It doesn't mean you have no convictions, no opinions, and you live like an empty vessel. But it means that when you have new conversations, you're exposed to new ideas, opinions, perceptions, experiences, you approach it with an open mind, not thinking that you are right and the other person is wrong. There is this legend of a Japanese Zen master, and a great professor comes to him and he wants to learn from him, but he starts with all his credentials, saying he knows already so much about the world, about the concept, about humans. And the Zen master starts pouring the tea into his teacup while listening to him. And he doesn't stop when the teacup is full, so it starts to overflow. And the professor screams at the Zen master, "Stop, can't you see the teacup is already full? You cannot pour any more inside." And the Zen master tells the professor, "Your mind is like this teacup. You need to first empty it in order to have space for new ideas. Then be water." To embody something, your experiences, your life lessons, is really to integrate it into your being. It's not enough knowing something, you really need to integrate. Just like water who flows through the ocean or through the forest, it takes little pieces on its path with the water, but it stays water all the time. And especially water is water. Water is not trying to be or overpower something else. Water is just water, going with the flow and being water. Next part is pour water into a cup and it becomes the cup. Life is movement all the time, so you must flow with life in order to grow. You also need to adapt to the circumstances and to bend with adversities. Bruce Lee gives this example of a rigid and very strong tree and a bamboo tree. The rigid tree starts accumulating some snow, but at some point the weight of the snow makes the branches crack. But on the other side, the bamboo tree, as soon as there's a little bit of snow on the branches, it bends and lets the snow fall. And by doing that, it never breaks. Bruce Lee also says that to obtain the ultimate flow, you must bridge the gap between action and reaction. So imagine some water pouring into a cup but not forming in the form of the cup instantly. The water forms itself almost instantly into the cup. So the goal for the ultimate flow, and instinct and intuition come into play, is to really reduce the gap to almost non-existence between something happening and your reaction to it while being in the flow. And then the final part, water can flow. Water is always in a movement, it always flows. But us humans, sometimes we try to stop, but at the same time, the world doesn't stop turning. So Bruce Lee says the ultimate stillness is the stillness in movement. So you're always with the flow of life. It doesn't mean you're always hyperactive, but you're always going with the flow of life. He says that being one with flow is moving from living the experience to being the experience, being one with what's happening to you, with life, with flow. And the final part, water can crash. As water that is soft flowing through the forest, water can also become more powerful like a tsunami and be even destructive. And also it's very important that responding to an event and reacting to an event is not the same. When you are in flow, you are responding, you're going with the event happening to you. When you react, you're kind of thinking or trying to do the best thing, but you're not being one, you're not being water. As a final thought, Bruce Lee says that instead of trying to be more, try to be less. And over time, less becomes more. And especially also trusting yourself and the path that you're in and being aware of where you are and who you are will get you into that state of flow, into that state of being like water. You know, on Bruce Lee's tombstone, it's written, "Have no way as way, have no limitations as limitations," which is once again a representation of his ideology and his philosophy of being one with life and being like water, literally. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Warrior Growth Academy. You know, this channel is for you if you want to become the best version of yourself. We cover habits, life hacks, ancient and modern wisdom, anything that will help us learn and grow into becoming those better versions of ourselves. I am your host, Jakub the Funky Warrior, and I thank you for listening.